right? Because then she became the minister at Lansing. And I think she's been there now for about 10 years. Yeah. And Reverend Sharon has a history with Unity. She's been on the Unity Worldwide Ministries board. She's been on many committees. She's been very involved in the Unity movement. And so it's a wonderful gift and a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
That's the one thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might love that. Okay. How's that? You can still hear me. Can you hear me online?
You can't see anybody, so we can't tell.
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. We'll go back here and we'll carry on. Thank you.
There you go. Wow. You know, I am a great person for keeping boxes with special things in it. And as I've come here today and thought about it, as I see your faces, it's like you all are the box that hold a lot of treasure and really key moments in my life. You're both the box and the jewels in it. You know, the stories that come back as I look through, and I'll tell you, Unity keeps everybody looking so young. I just that should be the big sales pitch. You want to stay young, right? Come to Unity and have a little. So I think 50 years. 50 years of what? A lot of life, right? There's been a lot of casseroles, committee meetings. Anybody been on a committee? Their time with Unity? Yeah. Well, certainly a lot of music, a lot of prayers and meditations, a lot of hugs. We used to have a hug and an unhug door. I remember at one time that against for safety reasons there. There's been a lot of heartbreak over the years, different things. And there's also been a lot of celebrations. So what wonderful joy to kind of bring that all together. Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. And there's all been a lot of times somebody was sitting in your seat. I remember when we were on Kingsway Drive, this used to be, ownership of seats was a big thing. So my favorite thing to do was to change the room configuration. So nobody ever had a seat and they couldn't find it because it never was where they left it. Right? So it was also 50 years too of 5 Unity principles. So I want to start out today asking you to hold up your hand because the Unity principles are right on our hand, right? So your middle finger. It is the tallest, it is the most important. And that's our first principle, that there is only one power. It means a whole different thing now, doesn't it? God the good. That is the one power that is actively present in our life and in the world. The next to it's our ring finger. And our ring finger, if you think about it, that's the sign closest to our heart. It's a sign of commitment. It's that union. And that's that union between us and that one power, one presence that's sparkling within us. God is, and we are. And then the little finger, the little tiny thing. Our thoughts, as small as they might be, influence the world. Our thoughts are so big. Those little thoughts become habits. Habits become an essence of our life. And our lives are not just isolated. We are part of the race consciousness of humanity. The thoughts that we have feed in to that culture, that atmosphere that is happening in our world. So those are smallest finger is very important. And then there's our pointer finger. There's a Buddhist tradition that says when you point at the moon, don't confuse the finger for the moon. Fourth principle is about prayer. And prayer is simply that connection. It is not the end result. It is our connection to find that truth, that power, the one presence that is within us. Then finally, we have our thumb, that we need to live it. We need to act it. And the thumb is so key because it touches every one of those other fingers. To live it, we need to really live into that finger. There is only one power, one presence. There are no others. There is only us, the oneness that sparkles within each of us, that our thoughts are creative and that our prayers are effective. There it is, one hand. Okay, now that we know all about unity, let's talk about where we're going with this little thumb that's touching everything in our principles. Really, I think about learning to live as community. Anybody can be a perfect follower of any faith up in the mountain by themselves. But things really only come into being when the humans arrive in community. Can you do it when somebody sits in your seat, when somebody talks too much, when somebody changes the coffee brand that we're using, or all those other things that are happening during meditation? Yeah, but they take the last chocolate off the snack table, right? That's when you really find out what community is about, what feels and concepts is warm and fuzzy. It's also our growing edge. It's our green spots. Those are where we get to really bump up what it is we believe. Mission here at Unity Kitchener is about transforming consciousness and empowering lives. How do we do that? What does that mean? What does it mean when it's inconvenient? What does it mean when it's messy? What does it mean when it's awkward? That's what happens in your community. It's going to be messy. It's going to be inconvenient. It's going to. Okay. I know. And I like to keep my voice. I've often been able to remind people that people come to Unity because they didn't like organized religion. Kind of stepping into it. That's really, I think, what spiritual practice becomes. How do we do this stuff when we are in community, when we are in relationship with other people? We're not able to control everything, like the sound or the gremlins or everything else that goes on, or the relationships between people, how we're showing up. Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered, there I am. When they're gathered in my name, they go, what name? What name? I think it's the name that when Moses asked God what his name was, God said, I am who I am. I am who I am. When we're gathered in the Gospel of John, 1 John, way back at the end of the New Testament, it said, God is love. The name that we gather in is that name, that it's gathered in love, gathered in I am who I am, big I am, the Christ consciousness within each of us. And the gathering is not as a religion, is not as a tribe, but it's that gathering in consciousness, whether we are together in person, whether we're online, whether we're in Ottawa, or ever anybody else is that's joining us online today. We are gathered together in consciousness, in that name of the great I am, of that idea of divine love, that one power and presence within our life. Unity likes to talk about being inclusive, means everybody belongs, but community is where we actually build, where we get messy, where we build this life together. It's been said that like inclusion is inviting everybody to the dance, but community is when you ask everybody to dance. See the difference? You put it into practice. Namaste, favorite little thing. I behold the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The light in me beholds the light in you. That we make that effort to be able to see that perfection, that potential, that love within each and every person with which we have the privilege to socialize with. And the Christ consciousness is not just something within us, it's something that manifests and becomes tangible when we're together in a room, when we're together in person. This space is that space where it's like light leaking out until a brilliance evolves and just keeps growing, that is not measurable by necessarily human standards, but measurable by our souls, by our spirits. I think about this field of shared consciousness that we have in a spiritual community. I had to laugh when Trish and I worked together for so many years, and she comes in today, we're wearing the same color. The shared consciousness so often shows up that way that you start doing things in sync without the human planning. There's just a synchronicity about life, the way that things happen. Charles Fillmore, Unity co-founder, teaches us that our consciousness is what creates our experience, not in the sense of manipulating it, but it impacts our perspective of how we see things. So our frame of mind, the thoughts that we're holding in mind, create how we label the experience. And think about, as a community, what happens when we come together. All of us, we all agree to get on that same train of thought when we sing together, even when the music isn't played and we sing together. It's wonderful. When we, holding that conscious of prayer, holding the consciousness of forgiveness. We all have things that we need to forgive, usually ourselves. And holding that communal thing of vision. There is just this growing energy that comes together with us when we are together. It's an ecosystem, a wonderful ecosystem that's always rebalancing, always changing, always evolving, always going to that greater good. With transformation being part of this unity community's vision, knowing that we never transform alone. It really is a communal activity. And what happens is, though theoretically we have all the abilities within inside us, you're using the term ability for powers of the faculties, so we all have that. But sometimes we limit ourselves. We hold the box, we don't open it all the way. So it's so helpful to have other people around us that are willing to share their courage, share their light, share their strength, share their compassion. It bolsters us and gives us that courage and braveness to let our own come through. So if we're looking at being part of a community, it's pretty risky business. My goodness, something could happen that would upset me. That's out of my control, right? So what's in it for me? Why should I do this? Why should I step into this arena? Well, the science proves that we heal, we transform when we're in connection. We need connection. Biologically, we need connection. Our soul needs connection, meaningful connection, things that we do together, that we do. Think about dancing together, line dancing. Even if you're not a dancer, you get into a line dance and you're all moving together. And there's something real magical about, ooh, we're all doing this together. And you feel like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. I mean, all of a sudden, even if you're out of rhythm, there's something about that movement. I mean, you all know, or singing together, whether you're in a choir or singing in any kind of group, just for fun. You're out on the road and all of a sudden you hear something on the radio, it's a song, and you know all the words to, and you just burst into song and start going. And there's that extra energy. You can feel it. It's so tangible and it's so uplifting. Our souls are not designed for isolation. I mean, even Jesus, he took time apart, but he was always around people. He had family, he had friends, he had strangers that gathered with him. He was a people person. Every spiritual leader that we've ever been inspired by does their work with people, not as the teacher, but as the experiencer of life, of being one with others, of being sharing in their experience. So there is this great biological advantage, though, to people. I can tell you all the good words, but this is stuff that scientists have proved. So epigenetics and cellular health. So epigenetics is the study of what happens to our genes, how they express because of environmental influences. So the environment can't change our genes, but how we experience our genetic impulses in the environment can change. And what they found is that when we're in community, it actually reduces inflammation within our body. This morning, you are doing good things for yourself. This is a great self-care thing. You're in community. It makes you happy. It reduces inflammation. Wow, amazing. Neurobiology, that social rejection activates the same area of the brain as pain. Think about that. Being socially rejected is as painful as physical pain. And I think about, wow, no wonder the teen years were so brutal. How many times were we rejected or feared rejection, right? No wonder we were always in struggle, at certain times during those teen years and other times in our lives. Think about it. That risk of being in a social group, there's that risk of rejection, right? And no wonder we can be concerned about it, because it does create physical pain, same impact as physical pain in our brain. Our hormones and the endocrine system, this wonderful feel-good drugs that we have to us all the time, that oxytocin is released when we're included socially. We are all drugged right now. Yeah. Even all online. Just think about it. We are just, it feels good. I see a lot of smiles. I've seen a lot of smiles this morning since I've come here. I mean, it's just yeah, we feel good about it. We feel good. And then the social neurologist, John Cassiopo, I keep practicing that name, but I forget when I look at it. He says that the biological toll of isolation is equivalent to obesity and smoking. Being socially isolated will raise your morbidity rate, will increase the chances of you dying sooner, as much as being extremely overweight or smoking. What does that tell you? Get out and socialize. You deserve it. Be younger, be in that group. And this is not anything new. Back in the Old Testament, Ecclesiastes, it's a book in the Old Testament that had all these little wise sayings. It was probably written by the teachers that wrote Proverbs for the young Jewish boys that were students. And in Ecclesiastes, he writes, 2 are better than 1, for they have good reward for their labor. If they fall, one will lift the other up. Everybody hear that commercial? Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Yeah. But they knew that if you're together with each other, you can help one another if somebody falls. Woe to the one who falls when he's alone and doesn't have somebody else to help. And if 2 lie together to keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? Naked and Afraid comes to mind. If you watch that, did you get Naked and Afraid up here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. They put them out in the wilderness with nothing and try to survive. And that's true. I mean, we get warmth from one another besides physical, but we know the emotional warmth we get with being in those people. And although one might prevail against another, 2 will withstand one another, so that we know we're stronger together, and that a 3-fold cord is not quickly broken. They know that if you have 3 cords, you're making a rope. It's much stronger than if you only had 2, and certainly a lot stronger if you only had 1. So this idea that we're so much better in community is nothing new. This has been around forever. But there are times when the world gets foggy, the path, you can't see it, right? I mean, things happen. There's unexpected change, there's diagnosis, there's loss, there's confusion, there's a world that's making rapid changes and you don't know how to catch up and you just don't know where the next step is. And you can feel really isolated. And that's when community is so important. Companionship can be better than certainty. Think about that. If you don't know where you're going, isn't it more comforting to have somebody sitting with you? And it's okay. Yeah, we don't know, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it together. And it's like each of us have that little light in the fog, and you may get more light. And sometimes the fog doesn't go away, but it's just that helping to take the next step when you're holding hands with somebody else. Right? Just so comforting to have somebody there with you. That's what community is about. So, our humanness makes us think that we're spiritually uncertain. Is this really true, or am I making this up? How much strength is there in this idea of one power, one presence? How much strength is there in the belief of what's happening within me and what's happening with me as a community? And think about it as a community, the community is never lost. Unity Kitchener has been through different iterations over the years. Times we're just exploring in different directions. And how much more you get explored if you get all kinds of different directions you go through, and then you come back together and share it. There's this rich wisdom that's shared among the group. As Woody Allen said, I think therefore I am, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, don't we all feel this just a little bit? I mean, I think I know, but I'm not entirely sure. And so we talk with somebody else and go, yeah, that's it. Maybe. Yeah. But it's okay to be uncertain when we're in a group, because we know we're exploring it together in all our many directions. Sometimes spiritual community is not about fixing people. It's about refusing to abandon them. I love the story about a man's walking down the street and all of a sudden he falls into this hole. He can't get out. It's so deep. And he looks up and there's this, he recognized that guy. He's a doctor walking by. He goes, help, I'm stuck down here. And the doctor looks at him and goes, oh, yeah, you are. And he writes something on a sheet of paper and throws down a prescription and goes on. He's down there, and then another guy walks by and he's, oh, that's the minister from down the street. He goes, hey, I'm stuck down here. Can you help me? And just looks at him and says a prayer and walks on. He's still down there. Then he sees his buddy. He goes, Joe, hey, I'm down in this hole. You go, I see that. Joe jumps down with him. Joe, what are you doing? Now we're both down here. He goes, I know, but I've been here before. I know how to do it. To me, that is the best description of community that I've ever heard. Those people that will get down the hole with us because they've been there and they'll help us get out. Consciousness is creative. We know that. We've all seen it in our lives. And when we're in community, it's a shared field of creativity that has so much more power and impetus and scope than any of us can do as individuals. I kind of think of it like logs in a bonfire. One log might have a flame, might be simmering, doesn't really quite catch, but when you get a bunch of logs together, you get this huge flame. And so it is with us, that each of us individuals have the spark. Sometimes it needs a little help. Sometimes we almost go out. And then we roll up to that next log that is, fully aflame, fully going on fire. Community helps us keep our flame rekindled, even at those times when we're maybe just a little dying ember that's coming together. And sometimes you come to church, not because we're burning brightly, because we need that help. We need that help to keep our fire relit. I know I've heard people say, I don't want to come to Unity. Everybody's so happy there and I'm feeling kind of down today. Well, that's exactly the time that we want to come. There is no judgment just because you don't have a smile on our face or having a rough day. We've all had them. That's why we get together, so we can lift each other up. We've been down to that hole. We know how to get out. So I love the Velveteen Rabbit. I'm going to ask Cheryl to read a little story with me here about what it is to be real. I think that's what it is, the community about being real. And so she's gonna play the skin horse and go, what's real? What is real?
Real isn't how you're made, said the skin horse. Did I say that or just? Yeah.
Oh,
real
yeah.
isn't how you were made. It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real.
Does it hurt?
Sometimes when you are real, you don't mind being hurt, though.
Okay, but does it happen all at once, or is it kind of like being wound up a little bit by bit?
It doesn't happen all at once. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or who have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly except to people who don't understand.
Thank you, Cheryl. Maybe that's a little too close to home about all the hair being rubbed off and eyes being a little droopy. But becoming real is really about what we're about in the spiritual community. What does it mean to become real? Not where we're perfect. I guarantee you we will all make mistakes. I know, as when you step forward to be a spiritual leader like Cheryl, or on your way to ministerhood, part of the thing you accept is that you're going to be the one to make most of the mistakes. Setting great examples. It's okay, and we're still living. It's okay to make those mistakes. Coming together where we can be real, where we can let the mask drop. We can be who we are, when our soft edges, those protective edges, can kind of soften, and we can go ahead and take that risk. And sometimes it does hurt. There's probably not one of us that has not been hurt in community, maybe even this community. But we grow through it. We move through it because we agree to be real with each other. Michelle Obama said that becoming isn't about arriving somewhere, it's a process. So whether it's as individuals or as a community, it's that process of becoming light together, becoming a greater expression of love together. So what does community ask of us? What does it mean to be part of any community? Well, part of it, I think, is to show up. It's hard to be in community if you don't show up, right? Just like being that light in the fog, being with other people, even if neither of us can see the path. To participate, Get down the hole. You've been there. Help them get out of it. Allow yourself to be known, to be real. Yeah. Let people see the bald spots, the saggy, whatever. Let other people matter. That old wonderful tradition of namaste. The good in me, the love in me, beholds the love in you. All that's within me beholds all that is within you, and it's great. Because we don't find community. And some will say, we found unity. No, we became part of unity with one conversation, one kindness, one act of caring, where we come together. You just know it's home, a place where you can be real. You can show up for who you are. So let's affirm together. When the fog comes, we carry light for one another. When life feels heavy, we do not walk alone. When someone falls, love climbs into the hole. We become real. We become free. Together we shine. With that, let's go into a little meditation. I just invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And take a little check-in on your body, this wonderful vehicle that brought us here today, and just let it be comfortable to breathe into it, just to be present within yourself. Nothing expected, nothing to do, nothing to be. Simply to be here as real, open, receptive. In that internal stillness, we can recognize that spark of light that is us. A light that is pure love, that is unlimited, that pulsates with the purpose of our being to show up, to reach out, to stretch and to retract, to pulsate like a flame of the eternal. We have that incredible sense that as our light grows and we allow it to spread beyond us as an individual, how it intermingles with others in this room, awash with the idea of love and oneness. And those ideas of separation dissolve. We step into that greater identity of singularity. We trust this light, this love that is within us and around us, breathing us, even as we breathe it. Knowing that together, whatever stands in front of us as individuals and as a community, we find the next step. Hand in hand, heart to heart, that we step out about beyond perfection, to allow ourselves to move to that creative flow of becoming. Take another breath and feel that ease, that lack of unstoppable obstacles, knowing that nothing can overcome the truth that is within us, the truth of our wholeness, our interconnectedness, our very beingness. And so it is. Amen. Just leaving you with a little spiritual practice for the week about courageously stepping into those places of infinite possibilities. One of my favorite artists wrote this, that the space between is not a distance that separates, but a place of infinite possibility. And it's all ours. Thank you. If we have